Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll talk about windshields and fairings. You can have them mounted either on your handlebar or motorcycle frame for cold weather riding. Later we'll take a quick look at wind chill factors so you can see why you would want to have protection from the wind when riding. I get these questions all the time. Well, what do you do with your motorcycle in the winter? Do you put it in storage? No, I just ride. Well, what about below freezing temperatures, below 32 degrees Fahrenheit? I just ride. I'm in the northeastern part of the United States. Winter, cold, and snow can be brutal, but there's also many rideable days. Winter comfort on two wheels starts with the motorcycle you choose. The keys to being comfortable in weather conditions that are cold and or wet are two things. Number one, keep out of the wind. Number two, keep out of the weather. Let's look at how your motorcycle windshield and fairings can help make this possible. The windshield will get you out of cooler temperatures and protection from the weather immediately. There are two types of windshields and fairings. One is handlebar mounted, the other is frame mounted. There's good and bad pluses and minuses to both types. Windshields come in a variety of heights depending on the amount of protection you want. Keep in mind, the smaller the windshield, the less protection you have from the wind and the weather. The taller and wider the windshield, the greater the drag you'll have in the wind and the air, which will affect your speed and gas mileage. The handlebar mounted windshield will offer protection and generally will be the least expensive to have. The least expensive ones with the least amount of protection might cost between $100 and $200 US. If you bought your bike without one, handlebar mountings will be the easiest to install and have the least amount of hardware necessary to install. If you live in an area that's hot most of the year, you might be inclined to install the windshield when it's cold and remove it when it's hot. With the handlebar mounted windshields, when you turn the handlebars, your windshield turns with the handlebars. This can be a disadvantage of the handlebar mounted windshield, in that anything that affects the windshield will affect your handlebars and your steering. An example of this is if you're riding on a strong windy day with gusty conditions. When the wind hits the windshield, it can have an input on the handlebars, therefore your steering. Usually it's not a problem if you do most of your riding in the city. It's possible to have a fairing and a windshield mounted on your handlebars. The fairing is a structure that holds the windshield. One purpose of the fairing is to smooth out the air, make the bike more aerodynamic as you're riding, plus give you the wind and weather protection along with the windshield. The small fairings and windshields will price out at a couple $100. The big fairings and windshields can cost more than $1,000. Let's change gears and talk about frame-mounted fairings and windshields and how they're affected by strong and gusty winds. Frame-mounted windshields are usually in a fairing. The fairing and the windshield are attached to the frame of the motorcycle, so when you turn your handlebars, the windshield and the fairing do not move with it. The same strong and gusty winds we spoke about earlier will push you sitting in your seat and the weight of the motorcycle and does not affect the steering directly. Overall, frame mounting is the most stable in strong gusty winds. Very important if you take trips on the highway. Another item of wind and weather protection are lower extensions of the fairing. They're more commonly known as lowers. They'll keep the wind off your legs. Lowers complete the protection you're getting from the windshield and fairing. If it's raining, misty, or foggy, the windshield will protect you from that also. If your clothing is not perfectly sealed off from the rain, the windshield can protect you and give you a shield from the wet. Let's say you're on the road without a windshield and fairing for protection. An annoying thing can happen, and it is if you're on the road at highway speed, you're wearing loose and lightweight clothing. The fast-moving air can cause your clothing to start fluttering. If you're traveling a long distance on the highway, the constant pounding on your chest can make the riding tiring and unbearable. A collar fluttering loosely on your neck is not fun either. A windshield can protect you from that. Our last subject for today will be a quick look at wind chill factor. It's surprising the difference riding on a motorcycle without wind protection will make with the temperature you experience. It gets more and more uncomfortable the faster you ride down the highway. We'll just take a fast look at it. We'll cover wind chill, weather, and riding in a future episode. Having a windshield or any wind protection decreases the wind chill effect. Wind chill happens when moving air reduces the temperature you feel. For example, if the outside temperature is 50 degrees, it's not a totally uncomfortable temperature. You might consider normally putting a sweater on. If you get on a motorcycle at highway speed of 60 miles an hour with no wind protection and the temperature is 50 degrees, the temperature you feel is lowered to 39 degrees. That's a big difference in temperature, especially if you're planning to ride for any distance at highway speeds. The motorcycle I have has more than the basics already built into it to allow you to ride in cooler temperatures. Heated hand grips, heated seats, and a foot warmer. Passenger seats heated. And if you have a less equipped bike, you'll want to have a bike that you can add accessories to allow you to ride in colder temperatures. We'll cover clothing and heated clothing in a future episode. Those are another couple things that will help you with a colder ride. Think about it. If it's possible to ride a snowmobile in the winter, if you're smart and set your limitations, have an idea what the weather is planning to do, it's possible to ride more days in the year if you live in a part of the country that has colder temperature for winter. If you're a poor college student like I was when I started riding, you'll have to budget and plan until you get the perfect setup for you. If you'd like to ride your bike more months in the year, visit with us again. We'll talk more about riding your motorcycle year-round. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, tap the flying falcon, and subscribe. We'll see you next video. Just ride.